Hey friends, it's your pal Mike Shea from Sly Flourish here with another episode of Sly Flourish's Lazy DM Prep. In this weekly show, I go through steps from Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master while preparing for my Sunday D&D game. In this case, I am running the hardcover campaign adventure Rime of the Frostmaiden. This show, like all of the work of Sly Flourish, is brought to you by the patrons of Sly Flourish. If you want to become a patron of Sly Flourish, you can do so by finding the link down below and joining up. Patrons get access to all kinds of exclusive material, but most of all, they help me put on shows like this. So, boy, lots of stuff happening. Today, the characters are going into Yethrin. And I'm not ready. But who's ever ready, right? When is anybody ever ready? I did say last week that my homework was going to be reading up on Yethrin, and I kind of did that. I read a fair bit of it. I gave it a good, solid review. And I'm kind of stuck because I don't know which parts of it I want to run and which parts of it I don't want to run. A lot of people have run Yethrin and said that they really enjoyed it. So running it as is probably not so bad. But I have some idea. There's some things that I think I want to do differently. So we are going to start off the DM skim, says Shavmez. Yes, exactly. So we're going to start off by creating a new session page. And we have that. And today is the 14th November. So let's take a look at what happened last week. So last week they faced off against, oh boy, character died. Character pretty much committed suicide. It happened. We'll talk about that. Talk about and digest that. So it started off with the voice of the old one calling out to Aachen and Ilda. So we found out that Aachen has some kind of connection to Ythryn and to the old ones of the Far Realm. We already knew that Ilda did. And Shadowhawk, who has a Mind Flayer symbiote in his head, was also able to hear it. There was some deep rumbling, and there is the egg. The egg is shifting in Candle's hand. And they made their way through. Let's see. I'm trying to remember what happened. Did I write a summary? They killed tekeli-li. So they went down into the chambers. Let's pull up a map here. So they started off in area like H16. They made their way into H22. They fought some vampire spawn, the remaining vampire spawn, and killed them. One of them ran away down to H31. They snuck down to H31. This is the area with the great big tentacled horror behind the ice, which in my case is another creature that was drawn in like Ythryn was into the world. Ythryn is this elder evil that I'm making sort of a central villain in my campaign. So a vampire spawn ran down there and was screaming, and then all of a sudden the screaming was cut off. They came in and saw tekeli-li impaling the vampire kobold on an icy stalagmite, and then go back and started sort of in prayer to the big tentacled horror with the huge tentacle going up against the ice. They said, well, let's go take him out. So they charged in, tekeli-li turned around, and that's when I turned my vampire dial up. And turned that vampire dial all the way up. He got a ton. So there are 6 characters, 6 level 8 characters, I think. 6 level 8 characters, and they only tekeli-li, no villains. So like, how am I going to make a single vampire hard for 8? There were 6 level 8 characters, and the answer is 66 necrotic damage on a bite attack, an extra 3d6 necrotic damage on an attack, and like 5 legendary actions. So he got to act between everybody's turn. He did something. He either could teleport by turning into a swarm of sturges and then reforming into his normal knoll shape, so he can move around the battlefield without provoking opportunity attacks in between turns and on his turn. He had that poisonous glare that he could do. I took that from his original stat block. He could do that as a bonus action. He could swipe at somebody and grab them as a legendary action. I didn't give him lair actions. I should have given him lair actions. See, I forget. I forget all this stuff all the time. Of course he should have had lair actions. I don't even know what a lair action for a vampire is. I couldn't even tell you. So, but he slammed it, and he bit the cleric. He bit Gore and did like 25 points of necrotic damage that then lowered his hit point cap by 25. And he's like, if I take that again, I'm dead, right? I will be dead. So like he blinked out and is like, keep that guy away from me because if he bites me again. And so he never did get another bite attack off, but he shelled out damage. He was doing like 18 points of damage every turn to every character. And then on his turn, slamming twice. So even though they're pulling a lot of 8th level shenanigans, he was still a big threat. So increasing, and I think this is a little tip. If you're running a single legendary monster against a group higher than 4, it's not really cheating to give him an extra legendary action for every character above 4, right? So in other words, if you're facing 6 characters, giving 5 legendary actions to a creature doesn't feel out of hand to me. I think I asked Dan Dillon about this, and he was like, yeah, that's probably too much. But I don't think it's too much. I think that it helps with the action economy, right? It helps balance out that action economy. So don't feel bad about giving more legendary actions than they have. And you might want to normalize with your players, like get them used to the idea that legendary monsters have a flexible number of legendary actions, right? And so that they're not like, oh, we burned the 3, we're good. So that was a good tip. Another tip for legendary actions that I think is really cool is something from Level Up 5e. The new sort of N-World has put out a new fork of 5e called Level Up Advanced 5th Edition, or Level Up Advanced 5e. And one of the things they do for legendary monsters is that legendary resistances are tied to physical things in the world. So imagine that like a lich has 3 glyphs on his head, and the glyphs wink out of existence as he's using up legendary resistances. In my case, I had glyphed teeth, and one of his teeth would shatter whenever he lost a legendary resistance, and he only had 3. And so they could tell, he's losing his power, right? So when you can, finding a way that a monster has a legendary resistance. If you could have a dragon with 3 ion stones surrounding their head, and each ion stone it explodes and breaks whenever a legendary resistance is used. Think of ways that legendary resistance can be manifested in the world, and then show that off in the story. I think that's probably my number 1 tip for running legendary resistances, and I'm probably going to do a video about that. So they killed him. They finally defeated Tekeli-li, and he turned into ash and burned away, and all that was left was his skull. And there's this huge tentacled horror inside of this icy tomb. And there's a crack, and there's black liquid flowing out of the tomb. Ilda realized this is the stuff that her stepfather had given her that made her the way she is. And Auken realized he was dying and was given this stuff at some point. And see, he's got it in his blood too. And Candle says, I go up and drink it. And we're like, really? And he's like, I go up and I realize that like, if we're going to defeat this thing, we need to become more like this thing, like right out of 30 Days of Night. Right. And says, I'm going to drink this stuff. And so he drinks it, and I'm like, make a Constitution saving throw, DC 16. And he's like, he rolls, he's like 18. And I'm like, you die. And he's like, but I rolled an 18. I'm like, yeah, it's not as bad as it could have been. It's like, huh? So Candle falls over dead. Everyone's like, oh my God, Candle just killed himself, right? Just drank this liquid and fell over dead. What is going on? And all of a sudden Candle's eyes open, and they're swimming black, his eyes are swimming black oil. And his eyes are swimming back, and he looks around, and his fur kind of becomes like mottled a bit, and he stands up and he opens his mouth, and he's got these long fangs, and they're like, are we going to have to fight Candle? Did Candle just become a vampire? And I'm like, Candle, you still have your faculties. You still know who you are. You still know what you are. You get to determine what you are, but you are no longer alive, and you're no longer a tabaxi. You are now a vampire. So we pulled out Van Richten's guide, and we looked up vampire, and I'm like, you are now a vampire, and here's these new abilities that you have, and here's this new stuff that you have, and you can take certain components from your tabaxi origin, but you lose other ones, and you've got this new stuff. And I'm like, and it's sad. It's something, in some cases it's really heartbreaking, right? Like, he had this egg that he cared for that was a Remoraz egg, and he knew it was a Remoraz egg. And I'm like, and you take the egg out because it's moving, and you realize you don't feel anything for this anymore. And he's like, I throw it into the corner. And we're like, oh God, like he carried this thing around with him for like half a year in real world time. Right? He had it forever. And now he's like, I don't care about it anymore. Right? Because he's now become this other thing. And you're like, what happened to Candle? Right? So Candle is dead and now a vampire. So now we have, of the 6 characters in our campaign, we have Ilda. So let's do a quick review of Candle got snuffed out. Oh no. Oh, I think I got to put that in the start. So we have Ilda. Ilda is a half elf, half Goliath who was fed the blood of Thrun when she was a baby by her evil stepfather. She has since killed her evil stepfather. He's gone, but she feels the blood of Thrun in her veins, and the closer she gets to Thrun, the more she can feel this connection to him. We have Shadowhawk. Shadowhawk is a half Mind Flayer, half Drow who has a Mind Flayer symbiote in his head, another thing from the outer world, that lets him kind of hear the waves of Thrun's talk, but he doesn't fully understand, and he's not fully connected. We have Auken Dawncaller, who at some point in his life was also given the blood of Thrun. So he's got this sort of, probably not as much as Ilda, and it's not as drawn as Ilda, but he's definitely like a blood relative of Ilda in more ways than one. So he's got some Thrun going on. We have Candle in the Dark, who was a Tabaxi rogue that used to work for the Xanathar, broke away from the Xanathar, saved his parents from the Xanathar, killed the assassin that was hunting him and his parents, and now drank the blood of Thrun, or blood of an old one, and now became a vampire, right? And then we have Perrin, who was kidnapped by Mind Flayers, and he still has like the web workings of Mind Flayer stuff in his body, and he's a conspiracy theorist and is sure that this stuff is going on. And then we have Gore, who's a merchant. Right. So it did not escape everybody that Gore is the only one who doesn't have some kind of otherworldly influence going on. Right. He's the Seinfeld of the group. He's the normal guy among the group of misfits. Right. And he's looking around at everybody, and he's the only one that doesn't have some kind of, corruption going on from either Mind Flayers or from old ones. Right. And it just cracks us all up. He's like, I don't know, everybody, right? Like, what's going to happen? So I wonder how that's going to play out, in the end. Candle got snuffed. Big rumble down below as the Remoraz shifts position, as the larger Remoraz shifts position. I think that'll be a fun, strong start. So they are, I think, they woke up the mummy in H33. Netheri's mummy is choking Aachen. I think, could we make it a mummy lord? Do we want to be mean? Mummy lords. See, this is where things get rid of 97 hit points, but CR 15. And vulnerable to fire, right? Weird. But I think I might do a mummy lord without the spell casting. Right, I think that will be, but we'll see. So I think it's going to be a Mummy Lord. I think we'll just, whoops. We have our Netheri's Mummy Lord, because that's in the book. There's actually a mummy. There's a mummy there, right? So scenes, we have Mummy Lord. Then we have probably, I think it's time to get them into Yethrin. So if we look at the caves, there's other places they could go. I don't know. I'll have to look at like H36 through 39. But this is making its way to, this is the Grove. I'm thinking about skipping a lot of this. I think it's time to get them into Yeth. I think we're going to do that. And so the idea that there is so Brian FK says, my party enjoyed the encounter with the Dryad. So maybe we'll do the Dryad. Let's take a look. Like, I'm not in any hurry, but I just feel like I'm kind of done with the Caves of Hunger. Like, we spent 3 sessions there, right? I'm kind of ready, but let's take a look at the Dryad scene. So that's H36. Grove of frost-covered trees fills the 50-foot high cavern with a mixture of ice and earth. By some magic and miracle, trees are alive, canopies thick. There is a Dryad. It's probably, this is, we were talking about upward beats. This is some good stuff. These are good. These are some good secrets we can just steal and drop right into our secrets and clues. Right? Who doesn't like? We're lazy, right? We paid money for this book. Let's use it. So yeah, okay. You changed my mind. Thank you. Who was it? Somebody said they had fun with the Dryad. Brian, thank you for convincing me to do the Dryad. I think you're right. And that is Hathawin. That's cool. That's a good scene. What is 37 and 38? Let's take a look at those. Weird insights. Nothics. So these are interesting. Irithalast, powerful Netheri's archwizard watches over Thrun. He has lost. Oh, so yeah, I don't think I'm going to do these secrets because I'm replacing all these guys. I think, yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe we'll have like a Nothic. I don't know if I'm going to have 4 Nothics. How tough are Nothics? They're not particularly hard, are they? They're CR2. It's kind of funny that Nothics are kind of described as these main villains in this area, but like your level, they'll probably be level. I think by the time they reach Yethrin, they'll reach level 9, right? I'm pretty sure they are level 8 now. They're 8th level now, so they're going to be 9th level when they reach Yethrin. And they might get to as much as 10th level. I don't even remember what they're supposed to be. Oh, what's 38? So 37 is supposed to be Nothics. 38 is Ice Caves with a Psychic Haunting. Might be kind of fun to put a secret in there. And then the passage to So we can have, so one secret is that a Remoraz, and how do you spell Remoraz? I like that it suggested a wrong spelling. You see that? Like, it's like so many people put in this query because nobody can spell Remoraz. A Remoraz is on the move in the tunnels below the Caves of Hunger. An adult Remoraz. And I think it could break into Yethrin. I think we could have an encounter in Yethrin. What are some other secrets and clues? So I think there are how many towers? We'll start this out and then we'll fill it out. There are of towers in Ythryn, each dedicated to a branch of magic. A central spire leads into the chamber of Ythryn below. 3 arch wizards were required to enter the spire. Each archwizard held a key or artifact that served as their key entry. So my thought is, rather than having, I don't like the idea of the riddle, right? And the reason I don't is like, are you telling me that every time the archwizards had to go in there, they had to do those 9 dumb things? And why would you have 9 dumb things that anybody could do that could get you into like the most secret place of your area? Like, that doesn't make sense to me, right? This is why puzzles always kind of are weird to me, is because like you don't have like a Sudoku puzzle on the front door of your house, right? And it's like, oh, if somebody can figure out Sudoku, they can get into my house and take my laptop. Like, that's not how it works, right? Like, you have a lock, right? So when, to me, I think of it like a safe deposit box, right? That like 3 wizards, they didn't trust any one wizard to have access to this thing at once. 3 wizards are required because the 3, you're very unlikely to get 3 wizards to engage in a conspiracy enough that they could break in, right? So instead it's like, well, more than 3 wizards is too much of a pain to get in. Less than 3 wizards, and one wizard might conspire. So to me, the idea that they would have a key, the idea that they would each kind of hold a key, and 3 keys are needed to be able to enter the spire. From a gameplay standpoint, that means the players get to decide which of the 3 spires do we want to go to. And from a in-world perspective, it makes sense that you would set it up that 3 wizards are required to be able to enter the vault. It takes 3 of the archwizards to get in. That to me makes more sense, right? So I like that idea. It also gets into that the keys. What is another secret? What's her name? Avarice has made her way into Yethrin using a horn of blasting she got at the frost giant Yarmut. She has, who is she bringing with him? Who would she ally with? Cool. Could she have allied with, instead of having, so normally it would be Black Sun cultists, not Black Sun cultists, cultists of the Black Sword. What if instead she has connected up with, see, this is where we bring in character stuff. She's connected up with the Knight's Kiss. We're going to make these 2 secrets. Avarice connected up with the Knight's Kiss. She agrees to give Shadowhawk over to House Zolaran in exchange for their help to reach the sarcophagus of Ythryn. Excellent. Father Limac wanders Yethrin. He is a former elf of the Knights of the Black Sword who joined the Netherese when they took Ythryn and became corrupted by Ythryn and turned into a lich. Cool. What is Father Limac's phylactery? Could his phylactery be the sarcophagus? Could he be tied to the Mythalar? I don't know. What would be a fun object that he could be tied to? Probably he's tied to the energy of Ythryn. That's a lot of secrets. So location-wise, so we know that they're going to do this stuff here. They're going to do I like the Grove idea is a good one. It's a good upward beat after getting pummeled in the face by a mummy lord. They might run into, I think, 1 Nothic. I don't think I'm going to throw like 3 Nothics or 4 Nothics or whatever, but they might learn something from the Nothic, and the Nothic could start to steal secrets from them. I think that's cool. And then they're going to make their way into Yethrin. So how best to run Yethrin, right? Like, Yethrin's kind of a weird place to run. So there's lots of Nothics. It's because it's a city, you almost want to run it more like a city. And maybe, so I think that's what we're going to do. To get our heads around it, to get my head around it, we're going to create a new page. Do I have a page already? I do. Okay, cool. What do I have in Yethrin? I have nothing in here. So it is a location. And I'm going to stick some stuff in here. So the first thing we do is put a link to the page so I can quickly get to it. Then I think we need the map. So now I've got a nice image of Yethrin in there where it has the labels in it, so that's good. We might have like, did they have like a wandering monster table? I think they have one already, right? So we have this whole thing about Irathalas the Demolich, who I think I'm going to replace with, I'm replacing Irathalas with Father Limac. I could change Father Limac into a Demi-Lich instead of a Lich. That would be kind of fun. Demi-Liches, I think, are certainly easier to run than a Lich. You know, his body could fall apart and all that's left is a Lich with the jeweled teeth. Maybe, I don't know. I guess they're not facing him yet, so we can figure that out. But maybe. So Fall of Yethrin, after using the Yethrin Mythalar to lift the Enclave into the sky, Irathalas and his apprentice traveled to the frozen north in search of relics of Astoria. So there's lots of good lore in here, right? There's a good pile of lore that we can use. But location-wise, the big question is like, how do they? Did I already open this up in a new window somewhere? Yeah. Man, this image is big. How do they travel around? Like, how will they make, you know, what are the choices that the characters have, and where will they decide to go, right? Like, what you want to offer the options to them of different places that they could go, and so their goal, right? Their goal here is to require the three keys from the 3 former archmages in order to get through the center spire, right? So we know we want to do that. Let's see. Let's close this up. I'm apparently burning a lot of memory in my window here. So they do. Let's take a look at their random encounters table. 1 to 50 is no encounter. I don't know why you bother with that. Tomb Tappers, Living Bigby Hands, or Cult Fanatics. Could be Drow, right? I think maybe like the Knight's Kiss hired a bunch of Drow and brought some more Drow in here. Spitting Mimics or Cold Light Walkers, if Oral is in Ythryn. Cold Light Walkers would be good. Gargoyles or a Frost Giant Skeleton accompanied by Winter Wolves. Okay, so there's like, if Oral is here. I wonder what makes Oral here or not here. In mine, I think she is, right? But I think the way I'm going to do it is that Avarice is carrying Oral in her, right? That Oral has kind of gone into Avarice. And when they face Avarice, they're going to face the 3 forms of Oral. Boy, everybody wants Thumper. Sorry, Thumper's dead. Deimos Magan or Galvin Magan for those guys. Nothics. Not a great random encounter list, frankly. So I think we're going to make our own. And why did that? So we'll take some of these guys. So Tomb Tapper, that's a good one. Living Bigby Hands, that's kind of cool. Drow Scouts, an elite fighter. I forget what they're called. Spitting Mimics. Why would there be Spitting Mimics? Cold Light Walkers, Gibbering Mouthers, because of the Thrun influence. Deimos Magan, these guys are weird. What are they? Unaligned. They are magical servants. Deimos, Magan, and Galvin. They're summoned servants. So I wonder what happens when you face them. Nothics, sure. Those aren't bad. I'm not going to put in the like random encounter, you know, you don't put bosses in your random encounter table. You don't want to like, oh, hey, randomly encounter the boss. What else? What are some other, so that's 7 things. What are some good things that they could run into? Friendly Nothic could be a thing. Confused Spectres. Landlord says, actually like villains being in the random encounter table, Strahd in the castle. Yeah, I mean, like, the thing is like I play so loose with the random encounter tables anyway that putting a boss on there, I don't know. Like I tend not to even roll on it when I'm running the game. This isn't so much a random encounter table as it was a way for me to list things that could happen when they're going through. What other kind of cool stuff could they face here? I think that there's some, it could be weird. Oh, well, what about, so Githyanki? Would Githyanki bother to come down here, or Mind Flayers? Friendly Naga sounds like a good idea, right? They've been trapped down here a long time. That's a good idea. All right, that's good enough. So then we have this Arcane Blight, right? I don't know. The idea is like, okay, one thing is like, okay, so that an Arcane Blight fills Yethrin, which means you can't really take, I guess I would want them to be able to take 1 long rest. Right? I think that's a good way to say like, you get like 1 long rest. And you can tell them that when they get in there, like you're going to get 1 long rest. So make it count, right? It's a little bit of gameplay, but I think it works. So there's an Arcane Blight. You can turn into a Nothic if you're there too long. We have some treasures, right? So if they explore different locations, they can hit treasures. There's a bunch of Yethrin lore. This is really useful. I'm going to link that as a secret. And I think I'll stick it in my Stick it in there. That's pretty good. So what locations? So we want to say like meaningful. These are the possible locations that they can. There's sort of main locations. These locations hold keys to reach the spire, right? Where's my typo? So like that. There we go. Icy Causeway. They might face their first Tomb Tapper. Wizard Spires. The Chain Lightning Stadium. The Tower of Abjuration, right? So how many towers are there? It's a Tower of Abjuration. There's a prison. The Spire entrance. This is Tower of Conjuration. House of the Arcane. There's a lot of interesting places. There's the library, Boreum, Tower of Divination. How many towers are there? This one looks like it leads to the observatory. Wellspring, Bazaar of the Bazaar, Hall of Silk, the observatory, Menagerie, the theater, Spire, the Tower of Necromancy. I like this one. What place is this? This is the Spire of Erathalis. I guess this is the main. This is the spire that leads down to. Let's see. That's the final showdown area. Oh, where's the map for that? Oh, I guess this is it, right? And is this what would lead down into? Is this what leads down to? Let's see. Shimmery Force Field. This one Citadel was residence in the center of Yethrin and dwarfs all creatures can't pass. Okay, so this is. In order to get to this, is what you have to have the things to enter, right? Okay. So it's like its own place. It's kind of funny that they just throw it in Yethrin because it's got a lot of chambers of its own. Are there more towers? This is certainly a weird layout. Tower of Evocation, gelatinous cubes, Tower of Illusion, the Tower of Enchantment, Tower of Transmutation, Music Hall, Skydock Spire, Museum. So I suppose that the obelisk of go back thousands of years to the key. Is the obelisk listed here? I love that idea, and I want to figure that out. I want to figure out a way to get it to go in. So it seems like if we were going to map out how this chapter works, the characters enter Yethrin. They have to travel to they have to choose 3 of the towers to go to. They go to the 3 towers. At the 3 towers, they collect the 3 items required to open up which leads to the Spire of Erathalis. But there's also the bridgeway, right? The bridgeway's guarded. It's a big ass chapter. The Spire entrance, right? So then they go to the Spire entrance. They go into the Spire of Erathalis, and then they travel down into the sarcophagus. I guess is that an ossuary? And then that can be sort of their showdown. So then we have these different towers, and then there's places that they can visit along the way. So like as they head to one of the towers, they could run into other locations as they go, and then I'll just run those. This could really do with a Justin Alexander style point crawl map for all of these locations. Like what are all the places and how are they connected, and how do you reach them, and sort of what paths lead to them. I think that is beyond today's show for sure. But maybe it's something we'll work on as we go. Maybe I'll spend some time working that out for both my groups, because I think it'd probably be worth, like if you travel from, what are the places that are between you and these other places, so that you could see them and make choices about what's nearby and what you can see. City like this is a perfect place for a point. And then they can choose like which of the 3 towers do they want to go to. Try to collect the items from those 3 towers. I'm just going to replace the engravings with like the corpse of one of the corpse of the location. And I think it'll be fun if they're an actual magic item that somebody could use. The area in the Caves of Hunger are an adventure all to themselves. Yeah, they really are. So I think that would be a good approach. Is there anything else that I need for today, really? Let's go back to my original notes. So now I'm building out my Yethrin page, which is good. Probably should have done that more often. They reached level 9. The Mummy Lord, the Dryad. So, they're not going to get too far into Yethrin today. Monsters I don't really need. They're all in the book. I mean, I've got like the Mummy Lord, Remoraz, Tomb Tapper, Drow. Yeah, I'll figure that out as I go. Treasure-wise, I think that it would be cool if the mask worn by, let's do a nice high power single-use item. Greater invisibility, hold monster, Cone of Cold. Cone of Cold's not bad. Reverse gravity. I think I might have already given him a reverse gravity. Wind wall project, cloud of daggers, levitate. Harm. Harm would be a good, right? Harm is really tough. Con saving throw. Failed save takes 14 necrotics, half on a success. Damage can't reduce the target's hit points below 1. If the target fails a saving throw, its hit point maximum is reduced for 1 hour by the amount equal. Ooh, that's really good. So I think it's the mask. It's Netheri's Mask of Harm. DC, we'll make it high. What's the Mummy Lord's DC? DC 17. It's a nice, powerful. What does the mask look like? Is it a child's mask? Is it a grim mask? A smiling mask? What is the mask? You know, a demon mask? And just a faceless obsidian mask? Plague Doctor mask? I think we're good. Yeah, I don't think I need much more treasure. I think we're good on that. So I'm gonna go lazy with some of the other stuff today. So if we look at Yethrin, so the location, the Wizard Spire, that's the lightning. What's 4 is probably the nearest tower. They'll probably, I would expect they'd be like, well, let's just go to the 4 closest towers, right? What's 5? Oh, the prison. I think we're all set. You know, I think we're gonna just run with it and see where it goes. I don't feel, how do I feel? I feel fine. I feel like I've got enough. Yethrin's kind of a big place, and I would sure feel better if I had a point crawl map for it. And maybe I'll spend a little time building a point crawl map. Maybe I'll do a little homework for that. That's kind of homework that'll pay off. You know, it takes some extra work, but I think it's homework that'll pay off. For me to get a better handle around this city and how it's connected and stuff like that. So I think I might spend some time and work that out, but I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that on the air. So I want to thank everybody for hanging out with me today. Thank you for spending my Sunday morning helping me prepare for my D&D game. Appreciate the feedback that you guys give me. And if you enjoyed this show, you can help me out in a few ways. You can subscribe to this Life Flourish newsletter. You can subscribe to my videos on YouTube. You can support me directly on Patreon, or you can pick up any of my books. So thank you all for those of you who have done that. Thank you. And next week, we'll see how things went. So thank you all very much, and have a great day.